So overall, basically, in our markets, the tea's still warm. It's not hot, it's not cold, but we still do yum cha. As you know, in China, in our markets, business is done through relationship building, through a lot of meals. So yum cha is still on the table. Just very quickly to do a few key strategies. I call them the 3+1. I mean, basically our markets are overwhelming. It can seem like there's anything and everything available. This is just an example of that. So it can be confusing on working out, well, where do I start and when and how. So I've got a few tips. I call it the 3+1 because in Chinese culture 4 is an unlucky number, and you'll find in a lot of lifts they never have 4 or 14 floors. So we'll go through what these 3+1s are. Strategy. Extremely important for China. Kylie mentioned a whole range of business models. Now these also apply in China, but the rules are different. So it is important to get qualified advice. Talk to consultants, talk to your banks, Westpac, talk to Austrade, talk to legal advisors, because there are some tricks there. Also IP, if you've got something there, it's important to have a strategy for that. Other areas are online. Now for Hong Kong and Taiwan, online sales is a business model. China, it's a wee bit tricky. It really does require you to already be local, because a lot of Chinese consumers, they will pay in local renminbi, and a lot of them don't have credit cards that work internationally. So there's a few tricks, same but different. A few other things is how well you start often will dictate how well you survive in the end. So setting up properly, doing all your homework, having a good sales pitch, being confident, being aware of the language differences. We all speak Mandarin, however we write differently across China, Hong Kong and Taiwan. So make sure that people understand what you're trying to write and sell to them. Getting the right partner. Now this is a real trick. In our markets, partners aren't always obvious. So for example, quite often you might find a partner that has no experience or background in your industry. Doesn't mean that you should write them off straight away. They might have amazing sales networks. So it just means you've got to dig a bit deeper and a little bit more in detail, which women are really good at, before you write things off. Another trick about websites is it does attract sometimes the wrong partner. And this is my next slide, staying out of trouble. Chinese now are more and more active on the internet, and they do amazing amounts of research. I mean, for example, on the back of your typical juice bottle, do you know what all those codes mean of the ingredients listed? I don't, but a lot of Chinese consumers do. So they use the internet to research, but they also use the internet to reach out, and this can mean scams. So please, when in doubt, reach out and ask someone who's familiar with the markets to help you validate people that are approaching you, trying to sell themselves onto you. It's very important. Staying out of trouble is very important for our market. So talking to fellow people who have done business in China, in Taiwan and Hong Kong, here in Australia, as well as other helplines. And when you are in trouble, just being quick to act. You know, don't be embarrassed. Don't worry that oh gosh, I'm so embarrassed. How did I get myself into this trouble? You're not alone. The best thing is just to factually state how and why you got into that state, and then see what people can do to try and get you out of that. So as I mentioned before, same but different. Our markets have some interesting opportunities, some unique traits, differences in IP and business processes and westernisation. However, some core themes span across our three markets. Rules, business basics. If your business isn't set up for domestic sales, then it might be really challenging, to be honest, for you to export to markets like China, because you do need a bit of critical mass, and you will need some practical experience in managing your business when you start dealing with us overseas, and being flexible. This is an important thing. This is where women, we have an advantage. We're used to juggling many things at once, and we're quite flexible. So one key thing, a summary message. I talked about the wonderful saying about in China, we believe women hold up half the skies. So really it's blue sky for you ladies in terms of our markets. researching, tapping into them, exploring, and hopefully succeeding. But the key tip and takeaway for today is to keep your feet firmly on the ground. Don't be blown away, don't be overwhelmed, don't be blinded by all the glitter and the glamour. It's important that we still stay true to ourselves. We don't oversell, we don't undersell ourselves, but we stick to what we're good at. We're good at detail, we're good at planning, we're good at evaluating. Like Kylie mentioned, still don't be too modest and don't be afraid to adventure out, but do it practically and keep your feet on the ground. Thanks.